Okay. Last time. Mm-hmm. I'm in, baby. Welcome. Okay. So how are you? Good. Glad to hear. You? I would say doing well. I'm just setting up some stories. That's good. Alright. Alright. You want me to wait for a couple more people? Or you good? You want to continue now? I think we should continue. Well, the three stories that we have tonight is the Screamless, the Phone, the Talking Horse. So choose your options. Chop chop. I shall repeat again. The Screamless, the Phone, the Talking Horse. So, you want to listen to the story called The Talking Horse, huh? Yep. Well, checking that one off, and... okay. There once was a father who had his wife passed away. Missing, more like. The officers, the police didn't find her body. As the husband was grieving, so was the daughter. Years later, the father was sitting on his chair, looking at the newspaper. As he ended up folding up the newspaper, he put it away. And that's when he ended up standing up. As he walked towards his daughter, he sat down, kneeled towards her, and said, "Hello." Not hello. "Don't worry, honey. Remember, do not open the door for anyone, no matter how mystical they may look. So I'm gonna go out, eat some pizza, and make sure I'm gonna make sure to bring some for you. Since I know you're a hungry girl, I will bring us home some pizza. As the father left, telling his daughter not to open the door for anyone. As the daughter was having fun, she watched TV, played some games, and started playing with her toys. As she continued to play, hang around, and chill, she ends up laying on her couch, bored. Hours went by, and yet her father didn't return. As the daughter ended up standing up, and she heard something. She heard clanking. She looked outside, and that's when she sees this beautiful horse. The horse looked so beautiful, with colorful hair, beautiful fur, mystical eyes, and a big pointy horn. It looked like a unicorn. As the horse looked at the child and started lifting up its hoof, waving at her, and said, "Hi there. You think you could let me in? I don't think I should," the daughter replied. "Nonsense." As the daughter became very hesitant, then the horse used his beautiful words to her. "Please open the door. I am the talking horse. You only get, it's only a one-time thing, child. You might miss your chance. This is your one shot of meeting a most magical horse there is." As the daughter was very hesitant, she said, "If you're truly magical, then show me what you could do." As the horse said, "If I show you, will you let me in?" As the daughter said yes. As the horse ended up going to the window, he breathed on it. As he breathed on it, frost came, freezing up the window a bit. And the horse used its tongue and draw art. As he used his tongue to make a good frosty picture, he drew a boat in the raging rivers. As the horse smiled and he said, "Can you let me in? Look, your father is gone an awfully long time, but he certainly doesn't want to worry you. If you let me in, I'll protect you what's out there. I'll protect you from the scary beasts, those evil monsters. Just let me in, child." As the daughter was afraid, then she said, "Okay." As she opened the door for the horse walked in. As he was walking around all happily. As he put his head down at her level smiled at her with his cute little smile and started blinking rapidly like a very mystical creature. Blinking cutely, smiling cutely, while looking adorable. As the girl smiled, the horse said, "Oh, you must be starving, dear child." As she looked at her stomach as she started rubbing it, the child said, "Yes, I am." As the horse smiled, and he said, "Don't worry, child, I'll feed you." As the horse went into the kitchen, as the horse asked, "What would you like to eat? What can you cook?" "Oh, all sorts of food. I could cook, red velvet cake, delicious brown carrot cake, brownies. Well, I prefer something that would, make me full." "Oh, and what is that?" "Like pizza or a burger." Well, obviously I want to make you nice and chubby and warm and happy. So I'll make you a big monstrosity burger." As the horse started chuckling and neighing. As the horse ends up lifting himself and doing the sink, as the horse lifted up his hoof, saying, "You should wait in the room. I'll cook." As the child went to her room. Hold on. As the child went into her room, that's when the horse starts humming to himself. As he starts humming to himself, the girl was in the room. And then her vision starts distorting. Everything is vibrating. And it reveals everything. As she was rubbing her head, and that's when she stopped. As she ended up opening the door, then her vision started distorting again, vibrating, hearing loud sounds, and that's when it revealed blood. A trail of blood leading to the bathroom. As the girl ends up looking behind her, that's when she sees the horse. The horse said, "Child, what did I say?" leaving her room. Well, I felt very afraid. I felt bored. As the horse smiled. "Oh, of course, of course. Come with me, child. To the living room. Giddy up." As the horse walks into the living room, the girl followed. As she ended up sitting down, and that's when the horse used his magical powers and put on a cartoon for her. As the horse said, "Oh, let's put on a cartoon. You know, back then there was this old cartoon classic. Here, watch this." As it put on an older cartoon. About a cartoon dog named Odie from Disney. And this little cat. As the child was watching it, and that's when her vision starts distorting again. As the horse was behind her, she looked at the horse as the horse sees the horse's true identity, where it didn't have lips, just a big smile with millions of human teeth it has. Big human eyeballs. Its face looked like it's a human, shaped as a horse's face. It had human skin. It had long black hair. As its ribs were exposed, and you could see its heart not even pumping. And that's when it went back to normal, as sees the horse as a cute little unicorn. As the child gasped, and that's when the horse said, "What's wrong, child? You look like you've seen a ghost." As the child said, "No, I just can't believe I can't believe it, I'm actually talking to the horse." "Oh, of course, of course. Since I'm making your burger, is it okay if you, flip the patty?" As the child said, "I don't know how to flip." As the horse's grin has turned into annoyed. And he said, "Oh, don't worry. I'll just be in the bathroom real quick. Don't worry. I won't make a mess in there." As the horse starts galloping towards the bathroom, as the child was there, sitting on the couch. And that's when she turned back and sees Odie. No, not Odie. Pluto. Pluto was burning in hell. Odie was burning for the sins he has committed. The guilt he had for him thinking that he killed the cat. As the child said, "This is dark." And that's when she turned off the TV and the horse was standing right behind her. And the horse said, "I was watching that." As the child said, "Oh, I'm sorry, I was thinking if I could change, the cartoon." As the horse said, "Of course, of course." As he used his magical horn, lifting it up into the air and started changing the channel. And that's when it changed to some type of weird cartoon that looks like no one has seen before. As the girl said, "What's this?" As the horse said, "Oh, it's my favorite cartoon. You should watch." "Well, I should be making a burger." As the girl, she ends up standing up. She ends up pausing the cartoon. And that's when she ended up walking towards the bathroom. As she opened it, she sees the bathroom. It looks spotless and clean. And then her vision starts distorting once again. And that's when it revealed the bathroom was all dirty, with a body inside, without a head, and without any flesh on its arms and shoulder. Even on his thighs the flesh on his thighs were missing. And that's when she looked at the walls. The walls were covered in blood and feces. And that's when the daughter's vision went back, and the kitchen and the bathroom looked spotless. And that's when she went to the kitchen and she smelt it, and she said, "It smells good." As the horse said, "Of course. Matter of fact, your burger is done." As he used his magic to place the burger down on the table as she sat on the chair. And that's when she sees the burger. It looked big. It looked fresh and juicy. It looks delicious. With its melted cheese on top of the burger. On its burger patty. With lettuce on it. Tomatoes as well. Oh, with some bacon on it. As the daughter was about to bite the burger, and that's when the vision starts distorting and everywhere, and that's when she sees the burger. It had a bunch of bugs and maggots inside. The buns were rotten. The lettuce was dead. The tomatoes were soggy, and the burger was tainted. And that's when she realized, as she poked the burger, blood went out. So did a maggot, popped out of the flesh. And after when she looked at it, she sees a tattoo on there. She was freaking out, but she didn't. She kept her cool. As she looked at the horse looked so evil. It had a rotten corpse-like face, with an evil smile, with its eyes, with its beady eyes, with no eyelids, smiling at her. And the horse said, "How come you're not taking a bite of that burger?" As the child said, "Hold on. We forgot to pray." As the horse said, "Oh. Of course. Hold on. Hold on. Before we go and pray, I need to wash my hands. Let me go to the bathroom." And the horse said, "Wait. The sink is closer." As the girl froze. And then the horse looked at her. As the girl said, "Yeah, I'll go." As she continued walking further to the sink in the kitchen. She put some dish soap on her hand, turned on the water, and started wiping it. As she hears breathing, it was quiet at first, then it sounds like it's getting closer. You can't even hear the footsteps, just the breathing. As the breathing got louder, that's when she turned around and she said, "Can we play a game?" As the horse looked at her and said, "Sure, what kind of game? Let's play hide and seek." "Hide and seek?" "Yes, hide and seek." As the horse smiled and he said, "Sure, let's play hide and seek in here then." As the girl said, "No. Let's play hide and seek out there." As the horse said, "You sure? It's dark." As the girl looked outside, it sees that it's almost becoming morning. The sun is rising with its dark blue sky. As the daughter said, "The light is still coming up. I think we still have time to play." As the horse said, "Actually, I want to play in here." As the girl said, "Hey, let's play rock, paper, scissors for it." And that's when the horse starts smiling. And that's when her vision started distorting and vibrating. And that's when it sees the reality. Her kitchen was trashed. It had a bunch of bugs crawling all over. No. As the kitchen was trashed, her walls were messed up. It was moldy. It was dusty. As the girl looked at her hands, her hand had some blood on it because of the burger she touched. As she looked at the horse, you could see the horse's full body with its almost creepy human appearance of its face, with his creepy beady eyes looking at her. Didn't even blink while smiling as multiple cockroaches started coming out of his mouth. As the horse tilted his head and he said, "What's wrong, child?" As she said, "Rock, paper, scissors." As the horse said, "Of course. I was waiting for someone to play that game with me." And then the lights turned off. Then the lights went back on. The girl was sitting on the chair. She looked at her left arm, realizing it was missing. And that's when the girl starts screaming. As she screamed, the horse was smiling. As the girl finally calmed herself down, that's when the girl looked like she was ready to play this forsaken game. As the horse was sitting there smiling at her, he told her, "Well, don't worry." As the horse started smiling, as the girl said, "Let's do this." As the horse said, "Okay." As she was moving her arm, that's when she picked scissors. As she looked at the horses, it looked like it had a man's arm making rock. The man's arm was on the table, with blood dripping off of it. And then his arm has formed into a rock. His hand has formed into a rock. As the girl was breathing heavily, the horse started smiling. As the horse said, "You have 2 tries left." And that's when she rocked, paper, scissored, and she chose paper. As the horse had a rotten arm, a rotten woman's arm with a ring on it. It had, in her hand, formed scissors, as the daughter's hand formed paper. As the girl clenched up her fingers and started breathing heavily, as the horse said, "You still got a chance, don't worry, darling." As she started grabbing her arm, her stub, started putting pressure on it, and that's when the horse said, "Let's try that again." And that's when she looked into the horse's eyes, had a little bit of courage, and that's when she lifted up her hand. Then the lights flickered again, as she finally chose hers, and that thing chose his. Then the lights turned back on, revealing that she had scissors, and it showed her other arm that's away from her. Her amputated arm formed paper. That's when the horse's smile frowned a bit. And then the horse said, "Don't worry, you got this." As she looked into the horse's eyes, as she looks like she was about to do it again, then the lights turned off. Then they turned back on again. She had formed her hand into a fist. Well, the horse had a rotten woman's arm, which her arm formed scissors. As the daughter starts breathing in relief while shaking, and as the daughter looked at the oven, she realized the oven was on, steaming hot. She looked at the horse, and the horse was still smiling at her. As the girl starts running towards the stove, and she ended up placing her stub on the heating stove, sterilizing the wound. The girl starts screaming, while still forcing herself, placing her stub onto the stove. And that's when she finally let it go. As the horse was still looking at her, smiling, didn't show a different reaction. And that's when she sat on the table, looking tired, shaking a bit. As she looked at the horse, barely keeping her eyes open. And she lifted up her arm. And that's when she starts moving her arm. And then the lights turned off. Then the lights turned back on. She formed her arm as paper. As her arm across the table with the horse next to it also formed paper. It was a tie. As the horse said, "Let's do it again." And that's when they start doing it again. And they turn back on again. Her hand was a rock. And the horse's arm was a man's arm as well, forming a rock as well. As they both looked at each other, the girl was gaining courage a bit. And that's when she lifted up her arm again, and that's when the lights turned off. Then the lights turned back on. Both of them formed scissors. And that's when she said again, and that's when the lights turned off. Then they turned back on again. She had scissors, while her amputated arm formed paper. Then the horse said, "Oh, you look like you won. Well, let's play hide and seek." As the horse starts galloping, tropping, very happily. As the hallucination he took form as a beautiful unicorn, tromping around outside of the house, all happy, excited. And that's when the girl grabbed the door and she slammed it and locked it. And that's when the horse stopped. He turned around. And that's when the horse, his eyes widen even more. As the horse starts running towards the door, slammed its face onto the door, headbutting the door, even using his face slapping it. As he starts going to the window, the horse starts screaming, "You little bitch! Open this door! Open this door, you little whore!" As the horse starts revealing his true self, running around. As he starts circling around the house very fast. Oh, poor baby. As the horse continued, and that's when she heard footsteps on the walls. And that's when she automatically realizes the horse was standing on the wall. At the side of the house, it started running fast, circling around the house, crawling all over her house, sounding like an insect. And that's when there's a little crack at the window. There was a crack at the window as the horse starts crawling at the side of the house towards the window. Put his mouth in there, opened his mouth a bit, and then organs start coming out of his mouth while maggots are right in there as well. Start puking out organs and maggots. And then the organs start becoming sentient, start moving around like worms and bouncing around, spazzing. Start slithering like a snake. As the organs were looking for the girl. The girl was freaking out as the horse starts laughing. As the horse said, "Come on out, you little bitch. Come on out. Why don't you join the rest? I have the playground. Please come outside." As the horse starts banging his face onto the door once again. As the horse starts laughing. As the organs were moving around trying to look for the girl grabbed a frying pan. As the organ starts slithering towards her, that's when she ended up slamming it with the frying pan. As multiple more organs, bugs even, surrounded her. As the girl was crying, but she still wants to go down with a fight. She's not going to go down without a fight. As she starts swinging, squashing every bug and stomping on organs. As the girl starts screaming, "You're not going to hurt me! You will not touch me!" As the horse starts screaming, saying, "You little whore, open up! Open up!" As the doors, the windows, the couches, every furniture inside the house starts shaking, moving. It's almost like a little earthquake in there. Bugs are flying around. Organs too, as the girl was trying to gain balance. And that's when it stopped. And then the horse wasn't there. She couldn't hear demonic laughter. She couldn't see any organs, just how messy the place is. As she looked outside of the window, the horse was in the shadows, looking at her, while smiling. While the smiling horse was smiling at her, with his wide eyes, with no eyelids, with its lipless grin, with thousands of human teeth, exposed organs, with its heart not even beating. Then the horse said, "We'll meet again. I won't be hunting you, but I promise you, I will hunt someone else. I am not going to stop. I will never going to stop. And you cannot force me. You cannot contain me, no matter how hard you try. I will kill, and I will make every soul my friend, just like the ones inside me. Those are not even my organs. Those are my playmates. I won't be hunting you. But I'll hunt again, even though you won't be next. As the horse vanished into the shadows, the girl was running out of blood. As she looked at her missing arm, she was barely walking as the cartoon behind her started showing demonic rituals. As the girl sat on the couch, barely keeping her eyes open, and then she fainted. And then she woke up with some bandages around her stub. She was on a hospital bed. As her uncle looked at her, putting his hand on her shoulder and said, "I'm so glad that you're okay." "Where's Dad?" "He got into a car accident." "What?" "He got into a car accident but the police didn't find his body." And then the story ends there. So, that's one story down. Alright. What story would you guys like to hear next? Let me tell you the options. The phone and the screamless. 1. So the screamless. Yep. Alright. Anyone else? It doesn't look like no one else is going to watch it. Very well. Okay. Now I'm gonna tell the story on a different map.
Traveling to Dorado.
Was it the screamless or the phone?
I will not leave a broken world behind.
Screamless or the phone? Which one did you choose? Screamless. Okay. There was a teenage boy that looks like he's 17. He couldn't speak. Or doesn't want to speak, couldn't speak, who knows. As he was listening on his phone, listening to music. As he finally opened the door, listening to music, closed the door, as his mother said, "Oh, hi, son. How was it? How was school?" The son didn't say anything, but moved his hand, saying it was fine, not too crazy about it. It was meh, as the son ended up walking up to the room. And that's when he laid on his bed, sleeping with his headphones in, listening to music. And then, next morning, the mother woke him up and she said, "Honey, it's time for school." As he ended up getting ready. And he walked to school. He worked hard. He got picked on. And that's when school ended. As he was about to leave, turns out his bullies ended up coming and he said, "You know what? I think you deserve to be in there," as they shoved him inside of the girls' washroom, turned off the lights, and locked him in there. As the guy said, "Is he gonna be out there?" As the bully said, "Of course he's gonna get out. The janitor will find him." As no one came. So far, so bad. Fair enough. As he was locked inside of the girls' room, with the lights turned off, he finally found it. He found a light switch, turned it on, the lights came on. He ends up pulling a bobby pin outside of his, out of his pocket. As he starts picklocking the lock, and that's when he finally opened it. As he pulled the door open, he realized he was inside there for hours, meaning it was night out. As he was trying to get out of the main entrance, that's when he sees it was boarded up, barricaded. As he tries to open it, but his scrawny arms couldn't even move it. As he starts exploring around the school, looking for a way out, he even realized the windows are also boarded up. As the mother was growing so worried about him, she tried to call onto his phone. As the phone starts vibrating, as the mother said, "Please pick up, please pick up." As he ends up picking it up, pressing the phone, as the mother said, "Are you there, honey?" As he clapped. And he snapped his fingers. The mother said, "Okay, good. Listen, where are you? Are you still at... Where are you? Are you still at school?" As he ended up clapping his hand, the mother said, "Oh my goodness, don't worry, I'll come and get you." And that's when he sat on a chair. And that's when he heard something. He heard some wheels. As he heard wheels, he looked behind him. He sees this strange man with a mop of water, humming. And that's when the man stopped. And that's when he sees him. The strange person didn't look like the janitor. As the strange guy tilted his head, as the teenager waved at him, the strange person waved back. The person was wearing a hoodie. A black hoodie. With a mask that covers his eyes. As he ended up as he stand up, he pointed at the entrance saying he wants to get out, but the person was still standing there, looking confused of what he's trying to say. That's weird, I don't like it. As the strange person looked at the silent teenager, and that's when the guy ends up crouching down, putting his hands on the floor. As the teenager looked at the man, and he starts crawling like a rabid animal while making these strange noises. As he ended up jumping towards him, he ended up ducking as the strange person ended up falling onto his back, but ends up grabbing it. Finally gaining balance again as the man standed up and chased the teenager. As this masked man was walking towards him very menacingly, the teenager, we're gonna call the teenager Mute, and the strange man the masked man. As Mute continued running, he tries to move the barricades so he can finally get out of this school. But the strange masked man was right behind him, so he ended up abandoning it. As he accidentally dropped his bag, he ran inside to the cafeteria. As the masked man sees his bag, picked it up, he opened it, he looked inside, as he ends up pulling out he pulled out a drawing book, as he started looking at the pictures, and that's when he sees this one specific picture of him, of the masked man. As Mask looked at the picture, he ended up closing the book as he snarled. As he gently put the coloring, not the coloring book, as he put the drawing, a sketchbook inside of the bag, he gently placed it onto the table and continued looking for him. As Muty was breathing a bit, but luckily it was quiet, he started hearing him. As Masked walked into the cafeteria, starts snarling. As Masked starts mumbling to himself. And that's when Muty starts crawling quietly. As Mask was still trying to look for him. And then the frying pan behind Muty fell. And that's when Mask stopped. Then he turned his head back. And that's when he starts walking towards the noise. And that's when Muty sees big cupboards. As Muty ends up crawling inside and closing the cupboard door. As the masked man finally came, he sees the frying pan onto the floor. As the masked man growled, he ended up grabbing the frying pan. As he walked towards the sink, the masked man starts scrubbing the dirt off the frying pan. As he's finally done, he placed it back onto the... He finally placed it onto the, what do you call that, shelf? We'll just call it shelf. As the masked man was trying to look for Muty, that's when the masked man ended up opening the door. As he ends up hearing the phone inside of as he went back to the entrance where his bag was, the masked man heard vibrating. As he ends up grabbing his phone, that's when he heard a voice. "Son, are you there? Please talk to me." Oh wait, I forgot you can't talk. "Son, please make a sound like clapping, snapping your fingers, bang on the table, anything." As the masked man snarled at the phone. And she said, "Hello?" And as the masked man starts banging onto the table. As he starts banging onto the table, very loudly, the mother said, "Son, don't worry, I'm coming." As the masked man whispered onto the phone, saying, "Good. He'll be here." And that's when he hanged up on her. As he hanged up on her, that's when he continued looking for Muty. As Muty ended up coming out of the cupboard, that's when he finally walked out of the cafeteria. he tried to look everywhere until he realized there's this one window at the basement where he could crawl out of. So he went to the basement. And that's when he realized the basement was a little too big. So it's going to take a while. As Moody was trying to look for a way out, he went into the clothing closet with a bunch of costumes and props and masks were inside. That's when he sees the props. As he continued walking closer, he was looking around, and that's when he heard footsteps. As he ends up going inside, hiding behind the clothes, the masked man starts mumbling to himself. As he starts mumbling to himself, that's when he said, I gotta find him. Gotta find him. Gotta find him. As he continued looking. As he went deeper into the clothing closet, the prop room, as the masked man was trying to look for him, that's when he heard a big long staff falling off and made a sound. And that's when he tilted his head to his side and he said, "Found you." As Moody, he ends up grabbing a prop sword. As he pulled out the prop sword, ready to hit him, as the masked man was walking closer to him, that's when Moody revealed himself, swinging the prop sword around. As Moody pointed the prop sword at him, shaking a bit, as the masked man smiled, and he said, "You can't do shit to me." As Moody was slowly backing up with a sword in his hand, which is not a real sword, but still going to hurt if you whack someone with it. As he had a sword in one arm, ready, and that's when the masked man walked towards him and slapped the sword off his hand, and that's when he ended up grabbing Moody, pulling him close to him, as the masked man whispered, "You're not going anywhere." As Moody ended up kicking him at the knee, kicking him at the shin, then the guy said, "Really?" and tossed Moody. As he pushed Moody, Moody fell onto his back. As Moody was crawling away from him, the masked man starts walking closer and closer to him. And that's when Moody sees fake cobwebs. As he threw fake spider webs at him, the masked man starts screaming, saying, "Wait, what the?" trying to get the prop off of him, as Moody got up and ran outside, and he slammed the door and he made sure he locked it. As he locked the door, Moody starts smiling. As he starts smiling, as he was all excited, almost like he's saying, "I can't believe it, I escaped that! you! And that's when he heard banging on the door as he continued running. As the masked man was trying to open the door, he got frustrated as he looks like he was about to punch the door, and that's when he stopped. Then he checked his pockets, pulled out keys, and that's when he ended up placing the key inside of the keyhole, twisting it, and opening the door. Hold on, just gonna take a sip. I'm a bit parched. As I was saying, as Muty continued running, that's when he opened other door, but this time it had the shower room. There was a shower room. As he continued running inside the shower room, Muty slipped, landed on his back. As for Mask was tracking him. As Muty starts running further, Mask started crouching down again, placing his hands onto the floor. And he started jumping around like a rabid animal while making weird sounds. Start hanging onto stalls, sliding while trying to get to Muty. As Muty decided to hide in one of the bathroom stalls, slammed the door, locked it, and that's when Mask stopped. And that's when he started looking underneath the bathroom stalls as he started pushing the doors while they opened. Pushed another one, which also opened. As he started pushing bathroom door after bathroom door. Then the last one, he started pushing it, and the bathroom door opened. Revealed nothing. And that's when he looked up and he sees Muty was on top of the bathroom stalls. Starts jumping. As the masked man started climbing up on the bathroom stalls, started jumping towards him. As Muty ended up jumping off the bathroom stalls, he ended up landing onto his back. First he landed on his feet, slipped, and on his back. While Mask was laughing, he tries to reach for him. As he grabbed Muty and threw him. As he pushed him, he starts sliding on the ground. As Mask starts crawling towards him like some type of animal. As Muty tries to get up, the masked man ended up grabbing his ankle and pulling him down. As the masked man starts smiling and he said, "Got you." As Muty tries to escape, but then masked man ended up grabbing rope and start tying his arms. As the masked man ended up grabbing his arms and start dragging him outside of the bathroom and up the stairs. As the masked man starts dragging him. He dragged him upstairs. Hold on. As he dragged him up the stairs, the masked man, as he dragged him up the stairs, the masked man starts pulling him up the stairs. Oh my goodness. As he pulled him up the stairs into the main entrance of the school, as he placed him down, as Moody looks like he wanted to scream, but he can't. And that's when the masked man said, "You've been watching me, haven't you? You were so curious that you became obsessed with me. Am I that interesting to you? Many people see me as a freak, as a creepy janitor, but you see me as something else. Janitor. You're more weirder than I thought." As the masked man started chuckling to himself, as the janitor said, "Come on, let's take you out. Let's take you home." As he was about to reach, then the officers ended up barging through the door and said, "Put your hands behind your back! Put your hands behind your head!" As the masked man roared, as he grabbed a chair and chucked it at the officer. The other one tries to taser him, but he missed, as the masked man ran into the cafeteria. 2 more officers came and assisted the third one. They followed him. As the mother starts running towards her son and saying, My boy! Oh, my boy! Are you okay, my son? Are you okay? Oh my goodness, my boy!" As she starts hugging Moody. As she hugged Moody, the officers was trying to look for the masked man. As they finally did, he disappeared. They tried to look for other entrances of how did he disappear inside of the cafeteria, but turns out they couldn't find any clues or evidence of where he went. As the mother took the son home, the officers were trying to question Moody, saying, "Do you know who he is?" But Moody wasn't answering, nor was he nodding his head. As the officer leaned towards Moody and he said, "If you want us to help you, you have to cooperate with us. You cannot hide us. You cannot hide forever. Please, please, son, just tell us." Then Moody looked at the officer, not even trying to do anything, just looked at him. And then the officer said, "If you say so." the next day, Muty decided to go back to the school. Looking around. And that's when he sees the janitor closet. With the mask hanging onto the doorknob. As the gloved hand ended up grabbing the mask and going back inside of the janitor's closet. Then Muty smirked. The story ends there. It's a work in progress. All right. Okay. Let's go to another place. To another map.
Traveling to Havana.
I didn't like that one. Yeah, I know, the story was a bit, bad. Alright, on to the next.
Breaking me down just builds me up.
Okay. Oh, come on. All right. On to the mattress. Hold on, I'm trying to get ready. All right. I'm parched again. Okay. Gonna look up some stuff. Hold on. Oh. Thanos Gaming has posted a new one. Okay. But I'm not gonna look at that. Shorts. Posts. Okay. random person. So they made a post saying, what should I do for 100 sub special? Sing corridors? No, not. Sing condors with your voice, if you're okay with it. Okay. Rate your favorite editors. Do a Q&A video. Make 100 sub special edit. So there were 2 votes and I'm one of them. The phone. Oh yeah. Do a Q&A video. Do a drawing. I voted do a drawing. No, come on. And they're already at... Jeez Louise. Alright. One final story. There once was an old woman who sadly had her husband passed away. She didn't socialize with anyone. Every phone call, she says that she's fine, but clearly she wasn't. She started drinking wine non-stop, trying to numb down the pain. Was afraid. As her son called her, saying, "Hey Mom, we would like you to spend Christmas with our son, with your grandson." She said, "Of course, I'll be there in a couple of days." "Okay, Mother. Make sure you come, okay? This boy wants his grandmother." "Of course. Just give me a couple of days, alright?" "Hey, Mom." "Yes, my son." "We don't want you to be alone, so please, come to us." As she hang up the phone, as she continued watching TV with the classic shows, that's when she ended up going back to take a sip of her wine. And that's when she stopped. And she ended up, said, "I'm actually kind of tired." As she ends up, sitting on the chair, laying back. And that's when she closed her eyes. Then she heard the phone ring. As she picked up the phone, she says, "Hello? Someone there?" And then she heard a voice saying, "Is that you?" Honey, it's me, your husband. Don't you remember? I'm at the afterlife, honey. I thought you were dead. No, of course not. I'm still alive. What are you talking about? Anyways, I actually got some presents and I'm coming home. You know, we have to give our grandson something. Can you, like, open the door? As the woman stand up, looked outside of the window. And that's when she seen him. There was a big, tall, skinny monster. Lanky. It didn't have a mouth. It had no eyelids. It was staring down at her. His eyes were wide, not even blinking, staring at the old woman. As the tall creature placed his hand on the window, tapping on the window. And that's when the woman started shaking. As she blinked, the monster wasn't there. And that's when she heard the phone ringing again. As she heard the phone ringing, she picked it up. And that's when she heard him. Hey, honey, I see that you didn't open the door. Honey, please open the window. Please open the door. I need to get inside. We don't want... I'm freezing my butt off, woman. Please, I got some presents. As she looked outside of the window, and that's when she realized no one was there. And that's when she yelled, "You get away from me, you demon." And that's when she heard the smoke alarm. As she ends up on running towards, turns out she was burning her food. She turned on the fan onto her stove and opened the window a bit. As she started yelling, "You leave this house, demon!" And that's when her husband's voice said, "Honey, it's me! It's me!" And it started sounding, it was screeching unholy. It did not sound human. As the woman starts crying, as she hanged up on him. And that's when she looked. She sees the creature looking at her once again, lifting up his hand with his long fingers. As he starts waving at her slowly, the creature was still staring at her with its lifeless blank face. The woman started screaming as smoke started coming out of the window. And that's when she went to the phone and she said, "You leave me alone! What do you want?" As the man said, as her fake husband said, "I want you to join me, baby. I want you to join me." "You're not my husband," she yelled. Then this creepy entity said, "But I am." "Please let me in." "Get out of here, you foul demon!" No. I have some presents for our grandson. Please. Just let me in. As she hanged up, she looked out of the window. The strange creature wasn't there. She starts looking everywhere. Then she went to the kitchen window and realized her window was all the way open. And that's when she ends up grabbing the kitchen knife. As she ends up grabbing the kitchen knife, she walked out of the kitchen. And that's when she see her husband sitting on the chair. Her husband looked back and said, "Hey, honey, looking good. Anyways, I got some presents. They're underneath our Christmas tree, and in a couple of days we'll take those presents and give them to our grandson. So, what do you say?" I thought you were dead. Honey, I'm not dead. Don't be silly. You're just being dramatic. I was just gone for, for a couple of hours, trying to pick out good gifts, trying to think what everyone wants. You're not my husband. What are you talking about? Oh, you look stressed, baby. Here. Come on, wifey. You want a hug? As the woman starts tearing up, she slowly starts walking towards her husband. And she hugged him. And that's when she said, "I missed you so much." And that's when her husband said, "Don't worry. I'm not going anywhere. Not this time." And that's when she said, "Please let my husband rest." As the husband said, "What are you talking about? I am here." As she said, "Please, I don't want you to go." As the husband said, "I'm not going anywhere." And she said, "Good. I missed you so much." As she lifted a knife behind his back and stabbed him. As the man screeched, sounding unholy, as he pushed her, she ended up hitting her head at the wall, trying to gain consciousness as the man starts roaring. As he ends up twisting his arm and grabbing the knife, pulling it out. Starts shaking. Starts laughing as he dropped the knife onto the floor. And then the husband's arms start cracking. Start stretching out. Becoming longer. Then his legs as well, making him grow taller. As the woman ends up getting up and ran to her room. As she ends up grabbing a revolver, pointing the revolver at the door, waiting for the creature. And then the phone started ringing inside of the room. But she didn't pick it up, but it left on message. saying, "You cannot hide. Why are you doing this? I forgive you for stabbing me, wifey. I forgive you. Let's talk this out like adults, shall we?" As it looks like it was about to twist the door, she shot at the door. The creature growled a bit. The tall, lanky creature starts twisting the doorknob fast, starts shaking the door, banging on it. The woman starts screaming, "Leave me alone!" And then everything went quiet. As the woman was shaking, the window behind her was open. And then the phone starts ringing again and left a message saying, "Honey, you left the window open." And that's when she gasped. She looked behind her, and that's when the tall creature towered over her. As she turned around quick, tries to shoot him at the face, but the tall, lanky creature stabbed her right in the gut with his one claw. As the old woman was shaking, as the tall creature placed his hand behind her head, and then the phone starts ringing and left a message again saying, "Hurts, doesn't it? It really hurts, doesn't it? Being stabbed. It hurts, doesn't it?" And that's when the creature pulled his claw out of her stomach. And that's when she fell onto her knees as the creature grabbed the doorknob, twisted it, pushing the door open. As he walked into the living room, as the old woman finally closed her eyes, that's when she finally heard a voice saying, "Wifey, get up." And that's when she got up. She looked onto her bed, seeing her husband wearing a cap and wearing a white suit. As she ends up standing up, starts walking towards him. As she sat down next to him, and she said, "I'm ready to go home. I want to go home with you." As her husband said, "No, it's not your time yet. It's not your time yet, wifey." "But why? I want to go home with you." As he replied with, "Listen, your time is not yet up. You still have a grandson. Remember that. Remember, you have a life to live. You could remember me, but just don't let your grief control you. Okay? I miss you so much. I don't want to leave you again." As her husband said, "You're not leaving me. Just keep me in memory." I want to be a memory, not a scar. I want to be a thing that's worth remembering, not the whip that causes scars. Be strong for me, wifey, and don't go down. Don't let it control you. And that's when she woke up. She ends up getting up slowly. And that's when she ended up going to the drawer, pulling out a small shotgun. And that's when she walked outside of her room. As she continued walking into the living room, that's when she sees her husband looking at her, and she yelled, "Get out of my house, you foul demon!" As the monster, as the entity's bones start cracking, breaking, increasing his height, increasing his size of his arms. He was a tall, skinny entity that's pale, had no mouth, had wide eyes, looking at her. And that's when he looked at the phone. The phone started ringing, left a message saying, "You don't have to do this. It's your time to rest, woman." And she replied, "I will rest, but it's not going to be today." And then the entity roared as it starts walking towards her fast. She pointed her double-barrel shotgun. As the creature tries to reach for her quick, she pulled the trigger. And everything faded to black. And then she starts hearing voices. The voices are saying, "She's still breathing! Come on, help her!" As she opened her eyes a bit, she sees paramedics trying to revive her. As she closed her eyes again, and that's when she woke up on the hospital bed. As she was laying in the hospital bed, the wife, the husband, and their child were right there next to her. "My beautiful son, you came to see me. What happened?" "You had a seizure, Mom. But luckily, somebody called 911 for you. We came as soon as we can. I thank you." And that's when months go by, with the grandmother spending time with her grandchild. I'm so glad she survived. And she was spending time with her family. She also spent time with her grandson. She was also there for the next birth. Her son's wife ended up having another baby, and she was there. She was glad and happy. She still kept the picture of her old husband, but she uses it as a memory, not a scar. When you're grieving, it is fine. You could grieve. You just cannot let it control you. Don't let the grief control you. Because if you let it control you, then it will corrupt you. You could feel weak, but you cannot feel weak constantly. So do not let sadness take over you, because it's going to prevent you of the things what you could actually accomplish. If you end up losing something, you had a good time with it. But you still have to focus on the things what you got left. Don't let grief control you. You could cry. You can mourn. Just don't let it hurt you. That was the last and final story. How is everyone? Highly doubt there's going to be, a lot of people listening to my 3 stories. Only a couple went by, but left. Not do... What the... Okay then. Nada. Yeah, sure. For the ones who missed the story, or whoever comes across this past live stream, it's not too late to listen to all 3 of them. You guys won't understand what I'm saying, but at least you guys could try to figure out what I'm gonna say. Or you decide to leave this stream. Either way, hope you guys like the story if you do find this stream. Even if it's a past stream. I really like your story, baby. Thank you. Love. Aw, thanks. Well, Tomorrow is gonna be Christmas for me. Better head back to bed. I guess this stream will be my, early Christmas present, I guess. For the ones who did, decide to listen to the story. I appreciate it. Well, good night or good morning, or good evening, or good afternoon, or whatever. Merry Christmas to all, especially you, Voidie. Thank you. Same goes to you. Love you. And all of you have a great night and Merry Christmas.